Oh, well, what a great surprise today I have for you. This is probably going to be one of my most enjoyable, and they're all enjoyable. So that's kind of a high bar to set, but my most enjoyable podcast episodes because I'm here with my good friend and my business associate, V.Lynn Hawkins. V.Lynn, how are you doing today?
Hi, Kathleen. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Well, you bet. And I want to remind people you are listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. And today we're going to talk about visibility. And V.Lynn has a wealth of experience in helping her clients to gain visibility. I have a wealth of experience. And we decided a while back that we were going to join forces and really be able to serve our clients. And we've noticed some common threads of why people are not getting visibility. We've also noticed common threads as to why people do get visibility and why it's so important. And as a matter of fact, I was writing an article today about you can have the best product or service, but if nobody knows that you exist, it does you no good. And that's really the foundation of what we're going to talk about today, V.Lynn. So why don't you give a little background on how you've helped clients with visibility, what you've done in your career, and then let's have a conversation.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. I probably am one of the best examples of the best kept secret. Because I started my business 10 years ago, actually 13 years ago in 2010. And it'll be 13 years in April. And I started as a coach to women business owners. I was in the commercial real estate realm, and I saw what was happening with women in business, especially in retail, owning your own business, having your own retail space or having your own office space, where the market had just finished turning around from, business owners shutting things down and building an office in the garage so that they could keep working, and then finally getting to the point where they were coming back out into new space. And they found, what do I do with this lease? Do I really understand it? Do I have somebody that I can trust to go through the terms of this lease? Because you can imagine lease terms changed after the 2008 real estate crash.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women did not want to go back out into the spaces that they had before. They had, 10,000 square feet and inventory all over the place. And while they didn't have some of the same things, they were doing a lot more drop shipping. They were trying to figure out other ways of doing business. And so when I started, I was in this space of how do we do things differently? I was the disruptor. I was the one who was bringing in the concepts that helped women business owners to see that if they did inventory differently, they could have more in less space, and that's called pre-sale, right? Pre-sales. So it was things like that that really got me started in business. And in 2010, the Obama Jobs Act opened up crowdfunding for business in a different way than it had been previously, because Obama said small business owners need a way to increase capital without the same kind of restrictions that the SEC would require, and without having to pay back loans. So it gave nonprofit organizations that supported nonprofits that supported small business. It gave small businesses that were nonprofits a different way of looking at how to raise capital. Mm-hmm. And I stayed in that arena still doing a little bit of that. I'm doing it differently now.
Right.
But crowdfunding for business is still a very viable way of increasing capital. But you know what happened as I was doing that? I saw a big missing link between someone who is ready to do a crowdfunding campaign. It's all laid out. It's like the best kept secret when you don't know how to take that marketing move forward. And back then too, the internet wasn't quite there yet, the way that it is now. In 2010, you really only had 3 crowdfunding platforms. Now you've got 30,000,
Right.
because you can do a crowdfunding campaign right on your own website if you have the right plugin and strategy. And that there's a lot of advantage in that. There's some disadvantages too, because people tend to not trust someone who is not willing to go to one of the bigger platforms. There's a lot of fees in the bigger platforms. But getting back to the real issue, it was visibility, or the lack thereof. I want to raise capital for my business, but I don't want to be on video.
Right.
I don't want to be at the front of the business. I don't want to be the one speaking about, who I am and what I do and what my background is, what my story is. Yet we both know that is where you have to be.
Absolutely.
And while I was teaching all of these business owners all of this information, I woke up one day and said, I'm not even doing what I'm teaching them to do. And one of the biggest reasons for that was I was so entrenched in helping my clients to be there to do that and helping them in this visibility space, because through social media, you can do a lot, but you still need an email list. You still need those personal connections. I know that I have helped several crowdfunders to utilize their church connections, to utilize their social groups, their sororities and fraternities. And, it really is about stepping up with your message, and your message has got to be on point. It's anything that you're doing within your business needs a message,
Right.
A message with a point and a point in the message. And that point and that message can be about you, but employ the 80-20 rule. 20% is about you, 80% is about what it is you're doing and the impact that you are going to have out in the marketplace with your constituents, with your clients and your clientele. And that's where the real meat is. That's where the visibility is.
Well, you shared so much, and there's a lot to unwrap here. And really what I think is interesting, you mentioned the word email. And a lot of people have not really wrapped their hands around the idea that they need to have an email list. Even though email lists are not the same as they used to be, it still gives you an asset that is a part of your business. And so as we've been working together, one of the things that I realize is that I actually have applied the very things that I teach my clients. I applied to gaining visibility within the vegan industry, because a few years ago, I went vegan. And then as I was going further and further into my business, I was not vegan visibility at the time. But then COVID hit. And COVID actually destroyed a lot of businesses. It turned a lot of businesses upside down, mine being one of them, because I was a keynote speaker at the time. I rarely travel anymore. I rarely go to conferences. And it was a crowdfunding event that actually put me on the map for the pet industry. And I did a lot of work within the pet industry. And I'm talking a lot of work within the pet industry. And it was by doing a crowdfunding for a rescue dog. I mean, there's a whole backstory to that, but it was about putting my name out there for something bigger than me. And I think that's really what people need to look at as they're growing their business, especially in the niche in the market that we work in, is that it's not always about you. It's about who you serve. It's about what you bring to the experience to help your clients. And the bigger picture is the animals that are being saved, the health that is being improved, and the environment that is being turned around. Because right now, there's a lot of upside downness. That's a new word, upside downness in the world. And one of the things that many of the people that we've talked to within the vegan space is they don't have those strategies for gaining visibility. They think all they have to do is identify as a vegan and people are going to buy their product or service. It doesn't necessarily work that way, because when there's any kind of exchange of money or energy, people want to know, what's my return on investment? They may not say that, but in their mind, they're thinking, if I'm going to spend this dollar, what am I getting in return for my dollar? Now, it may be that they're donating their dollar and all they want to know is that that dollar is going to an organization that is going to help with a cause they believe in. But when it comes to business, there are very specific things that people can do and should do to get visibility. One is, first of all, identify the market that they're going to work with. And more than, well, everybody is my market, or all women are my market, or all vegans are my market. No. You want to really drill down. And in that, what is it that makes you unique? What is it that you bring to the experience that is of benefit to the end user? So let's talk about some of the things without giving names of clients, although, our clients wouldn't mind it. They actually sing our praises, but let's talk about some of the things that we have done with clients that it's helping them to gain that visibility. So, one is we help clients get podcast shows going. And one of the things about podcast shows is they have what's called pod fading. And the average number of episodes that somebody who starts a podcast show will do before they do what's called pod fading, and in the dating world, that's called ghosting, they disappear, is 7 episodes. And so as you go into a strategy that you're going to implement in your business, you have to really look at, are you committed to it? Are you in it for the long haul? Because some people, they think they should do X and get a Z result right away. Do A and you get B. Doesn't always work that way. Consistency and having a plan and a vision is part of it. But podcasting is one. What's something else that you would say is good for people to implement to get that visibility?
Well, first, I want to say that you've just trekked right through all of the parts and pieces that make a visibility, just known that it's needed, right? Identify your target audience. What's your unique selling proposition? And what's your strategy? Mm-hmm. And it's not just one strategy, because we all know that as business happens, it continues. And so maybe you employ one strategy for an extended period of time or a short period of time in order to get that jump start into where it is that you wanted to go. And podcast shows are a great piece of the strategy. And another is virtual events. We had a virtual event, a virtual summit. Mm-hmm. We had 11 contributors to our summit, and we had a VIP package that was full of some amazing things. And we still have that summit VIP package that we're still marketing for sale, that we're still selling out in the marketplace. So you want to think of your strategy as being more than just a one thing strategy. And you want to build it, right? You got something that leads to something else, that leads to something else. And so we've got podcast guesting. If you're on a podcast show and you have nothing to move people to, I say step back for a minute. Get that something that you're leading people to, whether it's a Facebook group or another piece of the strategy, a Facebook group where you can go in and do coaching or training lives or just nurturing and growing your community. That is a growth strategy. But your podcast guesting can lead to the group. It can lead to the virtual events because you're making connections with hosts that you maybe can invite to participate in your virtual event. Mm-hmm. And you may have people reaching out to you and saying, I'm an expert in this area. Can I participate in your event? Which both of us are happening to see. We've seen it, and it's still happening with our new venture and with where it is that we're going from here. we actually have something that we are just getting started with. And I'm excited about it because it's a win, 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 win.
And a win.
And it's going to be a place that we're creating. You'll hear more about it within the next few days and weeks and for the long haul, actually. But we're creating a space where you can come in and learn with and from other vegan entrepreneurs. Because for me, it's all about impact.
Right.
And whether you do anything or not, you're always making an impact. Learn that from Ken MacArthur. Love the guy. He's the impact. I mean, he's impact.
Ken and I go way back.
Ken
and I go back
something else.
At least 20 years. That's crazy.
Impact. I love him. And what we intend, and they're called virtual dinner parties, and we're having our visibility and impact entrepreneur collaborative virtual dinner parties. And we are going to be starting those soon. If you're a vegan entrepreneur, if you're a pre-vegan entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur who's curious about how a vegan business can grow so big so quickly, that's the space you want to be with us in. Because part of your strategy is connecting and collaborating in others' strategies. And ours is a strategy, a growth strategy that we've implemented with others in mind. And that's the key. We talk about collaboratives and we talk about, you and me collaborating, and that's a collaborative. But we're talking about accelerated business development strategies. And the collaborations that we're talking about are collaborations on a much higher level.
Right.
That give vegan entrepreneurs an opportunity to see who they might be able to collaborate with and how. And we're doing a lot of that in the months to come.
Well,
so I'm really excited about that. Virtual events.
And I want to kind of springboard off of what you just said, because as you were talking, I was taking notes, and you're just an amazing note taker. It's like, and you get into such amazing detail. One of the things that I would encourage people to do sooner than later is to create something that you can actually offer at no cost to people that is really of value, because you might get invited to be a part of a summit, for example, and the summit coordinator will say, do you have something that we can give as a bonus gift to people? And this is something that really does have value. It's something that people will learn from. They will be able to grow their business from, whatever it may be. I have one that's called the Influencer Guide. It's all about how to get on podcast shows. And I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, what to do, what not to do. Here's a great example with my show. Anybody who's on my show must be vegan. That is a line I don't cross. I have two shows. One has 355 episodes, I believe. The other one is like 140 episodes. And I've had people say, well, I'm almost vegan. It's like it's like you're not almost pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. You're not almost vegan. It's like you may be on your way to being vegan, but if you say you're vegan and you consume cheese, you can't be on my show. It's just my rule. It's my game. It's my show. And I make that very clear.
Unless it's vegan cheese.
Unless it's vegan cheese. Good point. But I've had people who they send me information. They go, I can talk about this, this, and this. They send me all this information and I write them back without looking through their stuff. And I say, are you vegan? And 9 times out of 10, they never respond because they know they are not going to give me the answer that I want. And those that do say, well, I'm almost there. I'm about 95% of the way there. And it's like, great, God bless you. When you're 100% of the way there for at least a year, come back to me. And that's a branding of my show. And the reason I bring that up is the people that are on my show, I often ask them, is there anything that you can offer to the listeners and the viewers that would help them in their business? If it's on the business show, which is Vegan Visibility, if it's on the health and nutrition show, Plant-Based Eating for Health, then if they have a consumer's guide, how to do grocery shopping as a vegan, or how to set up your kitchen as a vegan, or whatever it may be. But the whole point being is, Plan ahead. Don't wait until you get asked to do something. Start looking at what you need to do to set your business up for success. And when we work with our clients, that's actually the very first thing we do. We look at what assets they currently have, and we determine, okay, based on where you say you want to go, what do you have to do? And we reverse engineer that, and we say, okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. Some people try to do everything all at once, and you need to be strategic. So you really kind of triggered that for me, V.Lynn, on be prepared for opportunity to happen. Because my dad used to say, and God bless his soul, he used to say, luck is when opportunity and preparedness meet. He goes, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And that's so true. And it doesn't mean that you have to work so hard that you don't enjoy what you're doing, but you have to be strategic. That's a big part of getting visibility. I want to remind you that you're listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. I'm Kathleen Gage, your host, and I am here with my business associate, my dear friend, V.Lynn Hawkins. And V.Lynn, what would be one of the best places people could go to find both of us at the same time? I know that we've got our Facebook group, and I can put the link in the show notes. But what would you say is the best place for people to find us?
veganvisibilityproductions.com.
Okay. veganvisibilityproductions.com. We'll definitely put that in the show notes. So let's say somebody
send us an email to Kathleen at veganvisibilityproductions.com or VLynn at veganvisibilityproductions.com.
So if you didn't catch that, it's Vegan Visibility Productions, which is, that's what we do. We produce events, we produce summits, we produce book launches. We help those people who want to get a book to market. We work with a publisher who is vegan, and we help you to get your book to market. And that's one of the exciting things is more and more people are identifying their business as a vegan business. And so we actually have a full service offering that if our clients want us to do it all, we can do it all. If they want an a la carte, we can do that. If they want us to do it done with them, we can do that. So the whole point of me sharing that is so that you know what we do and for you to think about what is it that you do? What do you offer your clients? If you were in a conversation with somebody and they said, so what is it you do? You want to be able to really dial into the fact that this is what I offer, this is the benefit to the end user, and this is how it helps the world. Because one of the things I'm very clear on is what we do to work with our clients is we raise them up, we lift them up so they can be very visible, and more animals are saved, people are getting healthier, and the environment is getting healed. So,
Awesome.
V.Lynn, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are two things. One, definitely, if you don't have a lead magnet that leads to something of value that is monetized, we can help you with that. But you definitely want to have that. And the other thing is be visible. Be in the front view of your business enterprise. Let people know who you are, what you're about. Let them hear your conversation and hear your passion about what it is that you do, the work that you do. I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. And one of the reasons that I got into this work is because of where I came from. I didn't have the best childhood. I didn't have the worst childhood, but I had some things I had to deal with. And as I did, and I found the tools and the opportunities that worked for me, I found purpose in two things that I could do. One, in serving vegan entrepreneurs with helping them to rapidly grow a sustainable business in a sustainable manner. It's rapid business accelerated growth. And a lot of times we get to the place in that growth where we're like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready for that. That's the next step up. And if it's the next step up, is it going to be harder? Is it going to be worse? I remember one of my pastor friends and pastors that I learned under for decades used to say, new level, new devil. And are you ready for that?
Wow. New
And
level, new devil.
new level, new devil. And are you ready for that? And I kept thinking, okay, how do I get ready for that? And one of the ways that you get ready for that is really aligning with who you are, where you've been, what you've brought to this point in time. And then you can be more confident in saying, like Martin Luther King said to us, it's like, you may not know where the next step is, take it. You don't know if the ground is going to be there for you, take it anyway. And sometimes that's a bigger step than a lot of people want to make. I can't tell you the number of people who have come to me with imposter syndrome. Like, I can identify, that's that space of, am I really here? Am I worthy of it? Am I going to fall flat on my face? And who's going to see me? Are they going to figure out that I'm just 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of them as a coach? And what I have found is that when you are not prepared for that next level, because that next devil is in the mirror.
I love that. And I have to tell you, when I went through 9/11 with my business, where crash and burn, and I built it back up. I went through 2008, crash and burn, built it back up. And the one that hit me the hardest was the whole COVID crash and burn. It wasn't me getting COVID. It was what happened to my business as well as millions of other businesses. Yes. Yeah. And when it happened, I started beating myself up. It's like, oh man, how could you have been so dumb? What did you do wrong? You don't know what you're doing. Now, this is after 27 years in business of surviving a lot of things and thriving and having a very successful consulting firm and keynote presentation business. And I just had to go through that. And finally, one day it was like, wait a minute, that's pretty arrogant of you to think it's all about you. You're not the only one going through it. There are other people going through it. And the thing that I needed to do was, one, own up to the fact that things had gone belly up to a degree. The fact that I had learned enough to know that it's nice to have a nest egg, so that if anything like this ever happens, you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay the mortgage or put food on the table. The thing was, I had a group of people, colleagues, that I'm trying to think who it was that said, you're the equivalent to the average of the 5 people or 7 people you hang out with the most. And so I was able to tap into an amazing circle of friends who were also going through the same thing. And we started a mastermind. We really started raising each other up. And I got to the other side of it. Now, had I just sat down and said, I don't want to play anymore, this is awful, I can't do this, I did it for a while. And when I finally got up and brushed myself off and said, okay, what's the next indicated step? What is the next step? Like you said, Martin Luther King said, you may not know what the next step is, just take it. And so every day I showed up and put one foot in front of the other. The first contract came through. The second contract came through. I created a product. This happened, that happened. And now we're on target to have our best year ever, which is amazing. So the reality is that your past doesn't necessarily equal the future, but it helps you with your future one way or the other. You want to make sure that you have your systems in place. You want to make sure that you do surround yourself with people that can lift you up, and they can pull your covers when it's necessary. People can say, you know what, that may not be the best idea. Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. So with that, V.Lynn, in closing, what are your final thoughts?
Your resources carry a lot of value for you. Mm-hmm. And when you know who your resources are, as well as what your resources are, you're more apt to take that next step. And I want people to know that we're in one of the best times. I know that there's talk of a recession coming. And how do you recession-proof anything? You actually look ahead, and with the strategies that you can employ, you actually can plan for the future in a way that supports you. When I talk about accelerated, rapid growth, sustainable growth, it's those methods being used, and your resources are key when it comes to that. who's your coach? Who would you mastermind with? Whose master class would you go to? And, whose networking groups are you a part of? Are you just going in and pushing the sale? Or are you just going in and offering stuff and pulling for the sale? Well, we're not in a sales trend anymore. When we entered 2020, the new decade of 2020, we actually entered a new way of doing a lot of things, and business is one of them. We also have identified that the vegan conversation is rising to the top. And why do you think that is because of everything that Kathleen said, the environment, the animals, and the health of people. And most of the time, the vegan conversation, the plant-based food and lifestyle conversation, using lifestyle and food as medicine conversation, typically happens for somebody who has gone through a health crisis. And if you're not in the health crisis, you're wondering, well, what is all the hoopla about? And you might be in a health crisis and you don't even know it, because if you're eating that beef burger with extra cheese and the fries with extra cheese, you're creating an internal environment that needs to be healed just as much as Mother Earth needs healing or help in her healing process. And if you don't think about it now, start on that journey now, before the health crisis has actually stopped you and made you pay attention, then you're giving yourself a better opportunity. And those are the businesses that we work with, because it's important for us to help them to amplify their voice. Being a voice for the voiceless, it's not just something you say, it's something you do. And that is what we have taken on as not just our mantle, but our purpose and our privilege to do in this world. It's our legacy. And not only are we living our legacy, we're teaching other business owners how to live their legacy. And you can't leave a legacy if you haven't lived to create something to leave. And so it's all part of this journey. And if we know that the world will be vegan at some point, because we can't sustain killing animals the way that is happening now.
Absolutely.
If we're on this bell curve, then we're still going up, but we're about to tip. And we're about to go over the edge to come back down, because it is just not sustainable. And for us to move forward through this decade, we've got to do things differently. We've got to disrupt the norm. We've got to disrupt the pharmaceutical industry. We've got to disrupt big food. We've got to disrupt milk. Growing up hearing milk does a body good, and finding all of the people suffering from the ingesting of cow's milk, from acne to kidney stones to phlegm to, just all kinds of debilitating illnesses. And it's all foodborne. Change what you eat, change the outcome. So we've got a big task ahead of us. And we're looking to play with those who are ready to play with us at a level of getting your business out there, getting your voice heard. Because if you are one who is the voice for the voiceless, we can't be the best kept secret any longer.
Absolutely. V.Lynn, that was amazing. And recently I've been delving back into Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And one of the things that is repeated in every book that he does is about, if you put dead energy into your body, you're going to have dead energy. You have to put live, vibrant energy into your body by what you consume in mind, body, and soul. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. And for people that are watching or listening, I encourage you, visit veganvisibilityproductions.com. That's veganvisibilityproductions.com. You'll see links to a Facebook group. You'll see upcoming events. You'll see some really exciting things going on. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for being on your path to making the world a better place in all that you think, do, and say. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility podcast show, and my associate and good friend, V.Lynn Hawkins. V.Lynn, thank you so much. Wishing you a great day.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.